Thank you for staying with us. Our focus today is generational family discord, intra and inter. And we wrap it up with the question, is blood really thicker than water?
I like that, John. And so how far and how much damage can family discords or family feud cause to the perfect harmony that is required in every family? We shall attempt to answer this question and a lot more on the program today. Of course, don't forget that Pharaoh Owotomo joins in the conversation with our guests much later on to ask if blood is indeed thicker than water.
Can I ask you, is blood really thicker than water?
Well, when you talk of generation feud and discord, you know, a lot of us blindly just follow. My grandfather had this issue with his grandfather.
Is blood really thicker than water, Helen?
John, let's wait for Pharaoh.
Okay, straight away, let's welcome Kodinaa Adinaka, a legal practitioner with particular interest in white-collar crimes, family law, criminal, and civil law. He's our first guest today. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Yes, thank you for having me, John. I must say...
Good looking.
Thank you.
It's a universe.
I must say it's quite fantastic to be here. I'm a huge fan. You look sharp and energetic.
Thank you.
As usual.
Thank you.
And Helen, you look exquisite.
Wow.
It's really a pleasure to be before you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Kodinaa.
Yes.
Kodinaa.
Yes, that's
right. No, you said...
Kodinaa is my name.
Kodinaa.
Yes.
Yes.
What does it mean?
As it is with God. Or as it pleases the Father.
Okay.
Whichever language you look at it from.
Okay.
It's such a pleasure to be with you on the show this morning.
The pleasure is all mine.
All right, so let's get started with our first curious question.
Okay.
Family is indeed the most single important influence in a child's life.
Yes.
When a family is discordant, what does it mean?
Well, basically, it means that there is a conflict within that family. Now, this conflict occurs where members of the family who share different ideologies, different views, different opinions, are now forced to live together because of that unit called family. And when these different ideologies clash, there tends to be a conflict. So yeah, the conflict is something we can't do without in a family. It's inherent in every family.
Indeed, it is inherent in every family if you think about it.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we're all individuals. We have different opinions about different things in life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, now, disharmony within families is usually a strong indication that the family is at risk of generational dysfunction.
Exactly.
Now, at what point do we start to see the signs?
Well, to be candid with you, John, sometimes you don't get to see these signs on time. More often than not, these signs begin to exhibit themselves at the point of the death of a parent.
Okay.
So when this happens, if it is not managed on time, if it is not contained, it now leads to a further misunderstanding and resentment amongst members of the family. So when it gets to that point, really, then it becomes a problem. So like I said earlier, we can't do without conflict. 3 things are certain in the life of every man. Life and death is one. Taxes is the other. And then conflict.
Taxes?
Yes, taxes. You can't do without that. And conflict. So when you allow this conflict manifest without being controlled, without checking it, it becomes a problem.
Yes.
So the occasional conflict from time to time amongst family members is common, like I said, but it is very crucial that you nip it at the bud as soon as possible. Thank you. Yes.
So if you say that they don't get notice, you know, it's not magnified, except at the point of the passage or the death of the parents,
Yes.
then it becomes worrisome.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the times we believe that our parents are the ones who, you know, step in,
Yes.
you know, to provide solution and
Exactly.
cool the temper. So if they're gone, and this is a time where the tension and the discord and the feud gets escalated,
Yes.
how bad can it get?
Trust me, it can get real messy. I've seen cases where conflicts started from something very minute, And with time, you know, because of the failure of the individual members to contain this situation, it gets to the point where it's so ugly. And as a lawyer, you know, I've seen these things time after time in courts. You understand? So that is why it is always important. I always advise people, as an individual, as soon as you begin to acquire property, it doesn't have to be landed property, anything of value, it is very pertinent that you put your instructions into writing. You understand?
Okay.
Yes.
You are a lawyer.
Yes, I am.
So let's go specific.
All right.
What are the major areas, you know, for discord in the family? What are the major things that you have witnessed as a legal practitioner over the years that have become causes for discord in the family?
Well,
apart from, you know, properties.
It ranges from a lot of things, you know, starting from when the child is born, what name to give that child, what school to take the child to. It can range from a lot of things, you understand? But like I said earlier, more often than not, the major or the prevalent cause of conflict within a family is after the passage of a parent to the afterlife. So in the absence of a will, forgive me please, even with a will actually, this conflict can still manifest. But it is always advised that you have a will in place to set your instructions as to how your property should be managed after death. So that way, if it's in writing, you know, it contains the situation. Now, mind you, the presence of a will does not mean that conflicts will totally be avoided.
Because some wills are contested.
Exactly.
Anyway.
We have a lot of cases in courts today where wills are being challenged. So, but then you can imagine what would have happened if that will was not even present in the first place.
Yes.
So what I always advise people to do, aside setting up a will, is always good you know, establish a private trust company or a family trust company. It doesn't matter what nomenclature you want to use, you know, wherein the objects of that company would be to manage your estate in a specific way. You know, disbursements are clearly written out as to how the children, and generations after that can inherit these estates.
Yes.
Yes.
And quite frankly, to be able to avert problems later, apart from the will, I believe that something like communication,
very correct,
should, would go a long way.
Yes,
because you see, communication or the lack of it, you know,
communication is key. Actually,
it is key.
Yes.
You know, would you like to expatiate a bit on that?
Yes, it's very important as an individual to acquire good communication skills. Now, communication is not all about speaking. Listening to is also part of good communication. So yes, you have to have an open mind. Sometimes it is important you set aside your own ego and try to be accommodating. Accommodate your partner, accommodate your children, you understand? As soon as you notice that there's this discord, this misunderstanding, the first thing you should do is to communicate. It is after communication has failed that you can now resort to other external factors like counseling, you know, and you'll be surprised at the success rate of counseling in marital affairs in the country. It works, really.
Right. Okay, so family feud, family discord is not just amongst the offsprings of the family.
Yes.
You know, because you just talked about marriage, so it's also between the husband and the wife at some point.
Exactly.
You just talked to us about the importance of the will. And I'm thinking, the will needs, it's the people who are enlightened that go about, you know, that know about wills.
Oh.
You know.
Really?
Pretty much. because not too many people were, well, the thing about will is not...
this is the 21st century, so I want to believe that
you will be shocked at how many people, the percentage of people who have gone, you know, and done wills for their family. You will be shocked if you did a research on that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the enlightened people, probably in the towns like Lagos, like wherever, and people who have attained some level of education. You know, but we still find discord. and feud amongst families,
Yeah.
you know, that are, I don't like to use the word illiterate, really.
Yes.
But our parents, our brothers, our uncles, our aunties in the
Yes.
villages, it is even more heated out there,
Yes.
you know. So what do we do about that sector of people?
Well, the only thing we can do is to enlighten them. You understand? Yes, you are correct that a group of people that do not even like or buy the idea of having a will, you know, with time I've come to realize that there are some people that you would mention the importance of having a will to, and then they will say, no, you want me to die. That's why you're asking me to prepare a will.
Yes.
But no, it doesn't have to be because you are going to die. We all are going to die, certainly. But it is important, like I said, to always have your instructions written down as soon as you begin to acquire anything of value.
Okay.
In fact, you'll be surprised, even amongst the literates, you know, there's a prominent legal luminary of blessed memory. I can't, you know, mention names because it's actually sub judice. So you'll be surprised that even amongst the children, you understand, till this very moment, they are still fighting over the estate of their late father in court. It's very unfortunate. In fact, the adjudicators have tried as much as possible to settle this dispute amongst them because of the respect they had for their dad during his lifetime.
Okay.
Or even amongst the literates, we still have people that do not believe in the sanctity of a will, that do not respect the wishes of the deceased while he was alive.
Wow.
Yes, and you know what comes to mind is the power of culture and tradition.
Yes.
You know, now let's put this culture and tradition against this issue of wills.
Yes.
Okay, which will be like personal.
Okay.
All right. There are some cultures that are so strong, some traditions that are so strong that no matter what will you write, you know, the traditionalists will want to override whatever was written. And then you see, you know, upon the demise of maybe the head of the family or whatever, you know, they now come out and say, hey, no, this is not how we share it. This is the first son or it's the second son by the third woman who gets X, Y, Z.
Yes.
So how do we balance this? The wills will be like more formal.
From your experience,
Yes.
you know, have you come across this kind of scenario?
Well, yes, I have actually, but then your traditions cannot contravene the provisions of the law. If a tradition seeks to do that, then it becomes repugnant to natural justice.
That's because you're saying that because you're a lawyer.
But yes, that is what the law says.
But the traditionalists,
like I said, you cannot challenge the law in that regard. If a will has been written down, it means that the owner of the property, the testator, had given clear instructions as to how he wants his property to be shared. So if someone comes from Egypt and says no, regardless of what he has said, the property should be shared this way, then it behoves on the beneficiaries of that will to go to court and seek redress.
Okay, let me try and throw you under the bus.
Okay.
Can
try.
Family feuds be settled out of court?
Of course. Of course. In fact, I always advise that family feuds should be settled out of court. Try as much as possible to settle before going to court. It is when settlement has broken down irretrievably, then you have no other option than to seek recourse in court. Yes.
Okay.
All right. You know, I'm a woman.
Yes.
And we're talking about this crisis, you know, raising its ugly head most when the head of a family probably is no more.
Yes.
And the women, a lot of the times, are worse hit.
Yes.
John just talked about the tradition.
Yes.
And you insist that the law
would prevail.
Will prevail.
As long as the tradition is not repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience.
Please explain that. Come on.
Yes, I will. You know, yes, we can't take away the fact that there are some repugnant traditions. In fact, it used to be the position back in the days that a woman could not inherit the estate of her father. That used to be the position. You know, there's the case of
Majekodumi.
Sorry, I always Majekodumi, exactly, and Majekodumi. There is that case. But then, with time, that position has been challenged in court. And the position of the law now is that even a woman can inherit the estate of her father. So if that tradition is against the spirit of the law would have to prevail, because in that case there's a conflict, and there is no way there will be a conflict between a tradition and the law that the law would not prevail. Okay. So that is just the simple fact there is to it.
Now let's put that aside.
Yes.
Let's look at siblings.
Okay.
Rivalry among siblings.
Yes.
Yeah. How should parents handle rivalry among siblings?
Well, rivalry among siblings is actually inevitable. You know, it dates back to the time of Cain and Abel. But now it's your duty as a parent to try to curtail this situation as soon as you discover it. You know, growing up as a child, sometimes I had the, occasional squabble with my sister. But my mom ensured that whenever that happens, call the both of us together. Look, this person is your sibling. You don't need to fight over this. Rather, it's your duty to protect her as the elder brother. So with that mindset, because really the family is the first agent of socialization. So it behoves on the parents to treat each other with love, you understand? Because children are looking up to you. They are looking at you, the way you act, the way you handle situations. So it's always important never to quarrel with your spouse in front of the kids. Treat your spouse with kindness, treat your spouse with respect, and your kids will see that they would want to emulate that kind of behavior. And when they grow, they will pass the same tradition down to their own kids. So it's simple. Once you notice that there is this rivalry brewing up, it's very common amongst teenagers, even toddlers. It is your duty as the head of the family or as the parents, whichever way, to curtail that situation as soon as possible. Rather than quarreling, give them reasons why they should work together. Yeah. They have to. They are siblings.
And I'm sure your sister is very lucky.
No.
With a frame like this.
Thank you.
With a frame like this.
Thank you.
I'm sure
she's not a problem.
Yes. I love my sisters dearly and my brother. Yes.
All right. Yes. So family backgrounds, were there, because this is this program is dedicated entirely to the well-being of the family.
Yes.
So the family backgrounds, family values, beliefs, culture, these are all potential pressure points in inter-family discord. Please tell us why we need to keep an eye on these elements, culture.
Now you're talking
beliefs.
about inter-family.
Inter-family.
Well, I believe it's the same mechanisms that are used to curtail intra-family disputes that should also be used to curtail inter-family disputes. Yes, we can't take that away, because just as you have said, there are some traditions that are so strong, so prevalent in the society today, that it becomes difficult to manage this kind of situations. Now, going back to the issue of a person dying intestate, yes, we've seen it so many times, where the husband would die, leaving behind his wife and children. And then soon after, you see members or family members of the husband coming to claim property that the husband left behind, and then leaving the wife and kids with basically nothing. Okay. So that is why it is important to have all of these instructions put in place, so that when you die, these instructions, these wishes would be upheld.
Okay.
And,
yes.
Before you take the next question.
Yes.
Because normally we see that it's a man who should get the will ready, and because it's assumed that he's the one who exists first. Okay. Do women also, the wives, can they also?
Of course. Like I said, it doesn't apply.
The separation of the will, is it a joint thing, or?
I would not advise that. As long as you have a property to your name, you have the right to to determine how that property should be disbursed
And
at the point of your
Like
demise.
the husband and wife.
We will take the
break.
right to go on a break now. Okay, we'll take a
right.
quick break. The
right.
conversation has been very interesting so far.
Yes.
So we would want our viewers to stay with us. When we come back, we shall examine with our guests other critical angles on the topic. For now, let's take a breather with some messages to stay with us.
Okay, thanks for staying tuned. Generational family discourse is our focus on the program today. And by the way, the program is today with John and Helen on PlusTvAfrica. Before the break, our guest, Kodinaa and Adinaka, try to let us see the magnitude of disunity and trouble these can pose to the society. He is still with us as we continue the conversation. Thank you for taking time to be on this program today. You've been extremely useful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so sometimes the reason for generational disharmony could justifiably be due to a paradigm shift. Maybe an update in social models, sometimes due to technology. How does one handle this? Can we bring technology? Can we bring enlightenment? Can we bring any foreign stuff into this?
Of course we can. Now you see, the thing about technology is there are there are various schools of thoughts regarding this. There are some people that believe that technology has done us more good than harm, while the other school of thought believe that it has done more harm than good. Now, the school of thought that subscribes to the latter would say that because before the advent of technology, people used to communicate. Dad, mom, children, sit, discuss. Yeah. But with the advent of technology, we realize that now people spend more time on their phones than they do with their family. And if you remember, we talked about communication being key.
Yes.
So the time that you ought to use to communicate with your children, with your spouse, with members of your household, you spend that time on your phone, your gadgets, your technological devices. So if that happens, there's a breach in that communication, there's a gap, and that gap can lead to conflict. And if that conflict is not managed, if it's not contained on time, it can lead to resentment, it can lead to acrimony. So yes, one would say that technology has in some way caused conflict. But it doesn't take away the fact that technology as well has also helped in curtailing conflict, in the sense that now, because we live in a global world, yes, you don't always have to be around to perform your duties. You have to travel around, but you have a way of keeping in touch. Whenever my siblings are out of the country and I need to communicate with them, all I have to do is just reach out to them, Skype with them, WhatsApp, Facebook, and all of that. It has sort of brought a lot of people together. I have cousins that I've actually never seen, but we still keep in touch because of the social media platforms like Facebook and the rest. So it depends on how you weigh it. Technology is useful, and at the same time it could be harmful.
Okay, so the family bond, family time together is not lost.
It's not lost.
Quality time.
It's
Yes,
quality
it depends on the individuals in that household.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, Kodinaa, I'm looking at you, and you see, the problem I have is engaging lawyers in conversations like this. We've tried to run rings around you.
It's fine, you can try.
It's running out of it,
Now, okay,
very
take
serious.
this. Let's look at
Yes.
the issue of maybe ethnic diversity.
Okay.
Okay, it will sometimes affect harmony
Yes.
within families.
Yes.
Do you agree with that, or how
Yes,
how much
I do.
so?
It can.
Yeah.
It can actually affect harmony. But then, like I said, it's actually dependent on the individual capacity to manage these situations. Yes, especially inter-family disputes, when you consider various ethnic cultures, backgrounds being involved in that family, it can always, more often than not, lead to disputes. But then, it now behoves on that individual to manage the situation. Try to shift away from your position to accommodate the other person's position. Like I said, it boils down to communication at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter what ethnic group, whether there are diverse ethnic groups involved or similar ethnic groups involved. It boils down to the individual capacity to manage these situations.
As my Lord, please.
Okay, there's a question hanging in my head, but before I throw that in, let me quickly look at, at some point you talked about the feud between Cain and Abel in the Bible.
Of course, yes.
Resulted in
the mother
one killing the other.
Abel,
mother. And we're talking about this matter that is really of serious consequence, to the peace, the well-being, and the progress of the family.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, besides, one taking the life of another, what are the other things, that can happen as a result of, I'm not happy with you, but unfortunately I can't walk away because we're a family. We're thrown in here together.
Yes.
What other things can happen?
A lot of things can happen. These things are not really cast in stone. I don't have to murder you because I don't like you. You understand? But there are so many ways I can cause catastrophe and disaster in your life. Not me personally. I'm not that kind of person. But yes, you don't have to. In fact, I believe taking the life of another person is the last resort.
Some parents have had to disown their children.
Yes, disowning is possible. There are some children too that have disfathered. You change your name. All it takes now is just an affidavit to change your name. Like, I don't want to subscribe to this person anymore. I don't want to be a part of this family. I don't want to be identified with this family. So I'm walking away, to find my own fortune elsewhere. So it happens. Murder is the last on the list. Yes.
Okay, so can I take my originally planned question?
Go ahead.
So strangely, unlike in the past,
yes.
I believe the unequal social and financial status of families also go a long way in creating gaps or a gap between families.
Yes.
Why is this so?
Well, now it depends on the family involved. Yes, you don't always expect that both spouses will be of the same, of equal financial standing. One spouse is definitely going to be better off financially than the other. But when there is communication, there is respect, there is love, there's understanding, it doesn't really matter what your financial standing is. That family will thrive. That's my 2 cents in all of this.
Yeah, so basically, let's look at it from top to bottom now.
Yes.
We've identified that communication, understanding, and all of that.
Well, of course.
Will go a long way
in
curtailing the fallout of even the occurrence of family discord.
Definitely.
And so that will be the message that we'll be preaching to our viewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. But before we say thank you and bye-bye to you on the show,
yes.
I'm looking at another strange. Do we have time for?
Oh yes, it's you,
one?
Helen.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm looking at Nollywood movies. When you're watching some of these movies, when the children are grown up to a certain level and they are married and the families are living in the family house, brother A and his wife, brother B and his wife, brother C and his wife.
In the same family
In the
house.
same family sometimes.
Okay.
And you have a lot of tension. And sometimes the wives are the ones who are cooking up this story and this trouble. I don't know if you've come in contact, if you have had any of these experiences, and how did you deal with it? If it was brought to the court.
Like you said, Nollywood.
Okay.
I'm not
It doesn't happen
a
in the
Nollywood
real
actor.
sense?
Well, I haven't come across
Okay.
that kind of household
Yeah.
but it doesn't take away the fact that it does exist. So when you are in that situation, now you are the one saying that the wives are the ones
Because
usually
the
cooking
African
up
setting.
the acrimony
Now
and
you're
all of
setting
that.
me, I'm the one who...
Well, I don't subscribe to that. Women are wonderful people. You understand? Yes. So it's the duty of the wife to support and, you know, carry the family along. So when you have a woman doing the exact opposite, well, then it's just shameful.
And how firm can the husbands be in situations like this?
Well,
As firm as they can be.
To keep the family
exactly. I don't have a wife, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That should be a paid.
She picked it up.
Very soon.
a paid for commercial.
Okay.
Okay, now,
All right,
Kodinaa,
so-
let me take you on a drive around town, not only in Lagos, but different parts of the country.
Yes.
Beware
Well
of
traveled.
419.
Yes.
This property is not for sale.
Yes.
Yes.
We see so much of that.
In fact,
Is that an indication of what is happening within families?
of course, in fact, I've seen beware of Mr. So, my son.
Specific.
Right, yeah,
No
quite
way.
specific. Yeah, I have. So that goes to show that even within the nuclear family, you understand, these acrimonies are sure to occur.
But some people are saying the best way to handle it is don't wait until you pass. Don't wait until the will, because the will can be contested.
Exactly.
And it's a long process anyway. So why don't you call your children together and say, okay, I have A, B, C, D. This is yours. This is yours. This is yours, even while I'm here.
No, yeah, well, don't get me wrong. The essence of the will is not to totally avoid these issues. The essence of a will is to contain it.
So is property better distributed amongst your children while you are alive?
You can distribute while you are alive, you can distribute after. It depends on what you want. In fact, there's this British actor, Daniel Craig.
Okay.
He's the latest in the James Bond series. He made a press release a couple of months ago. He's worth, I think, over $160 million, but he categorically stated that he wasn't going to leave much of his inheritance behind for his children. So it depends, really. You know, you can decide to share your property while you're alive. You can gift some to them, or you can decide you want to share it after your death. You understand? But the most important thing as a father, as the head of the household, is as soon as you discover, you don't discover, if you discover it at an old age, I think you have failed as a father. Sometimes these tendencies tend to occur while they are quite young. So it is your duty to discover this and immediately quell it at that point. You try as much as possible to make sure that it doesn't go beyond that. And when you see that, okay, that your property is going to be a source of acrimony amongst your children,
take care of it.
Take care of it immediately.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what a number of people do now is they hardly leave anything to their...
Yes, there are some
Donate
people.
to
Yes.
orphanages.
You can give it to charity.
Yes,
exactly.
give it to charity.
Exactly.
Just to avoid...
In fact, there was something I told my mom. You know, at the moment of my call, when I was called to bar, I told her that, look, this certificate that I have is the best inheritance I can get from you. I'm not interested in whatever property you have.
Yeah.
I would make a fortune out of this certificate.
And you sure are making a fortune.
Well, we thank God, it's the grace of God, actually.
Wow.
So that is it.
Yeah, and maybe before we wrap up, sorry, Helen.
Yes.
I'm looking at the scenario of a complicated, case where the line of generations that have inherited discord is so long and complicated.
Yes.
Like right from the great-great-grandfather, this problem started.
Yes.
They didn't resolve it. It moved on to the next generation. They didn't resolve it. Rather they complicated it and then moved on. Because I've seen cases where those matters can never, ever be resolved. When does government step in to say, hey, you guys, look, we're taking over? Because I'll give you an example, a close family situation where, you know, one of the children at some stage grabbed the document for property and took it to the Attorney General and said, look, administer this estate. There's too much wahala on it.
Yes, not Attorney General. I think you mean Administrator
General.
Yes.
Administrator General. Yes.
In that case, yes, they will have to intervene.
So it becomes the property of the state?
No, not the property of the state. That occurs when the deceased, you know, died intestate without a will. So rather than contesting, you know, I'm entitled to this while you're entitled to that, you say, no, let us invite the Administrator General, you understand, to take over this estate, manage this estate, and then disburse it to the beneficiaries. For a fee, of course. It's not for free.
Time.
Never for free.
Time.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for throwing a lot of light on this subject matter today. Thank you. Absolutely revealing and impactful, I would say. Getting to open up on the various aspects of generational discord. Once again, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you today.
Pleasure is all mine.
Okay.
So now we believe our viewers are better enlightened on how best to deal with family discord, most especially when they have lingered on from one generation to the other. We're so grateful for your time and input.
Thank you.
Yeah? That's to say a personal thank you to you.
So you're not sending him under the train anymore? Okay, thank you.
It's
all right.
Quite engaging.
Okay.
You did a fantastic job as well.
You did a better job. Thank you. So moving on, let's make way for Dolly, who will help douse the tension just a bit as she takes us exercising our bodies, another wise way of staying healthy, happy, and united. When she's done, Pharaoh Owotoma and her guests will take over. Critically looking at blood is thicker than water, still within the context of generational family discord. Stay with us.